Okay, good evening, Nicky.
Good evening to you.
Good evening. Thank you very much for joining us. And we were just talking about Saturday. I think everyone wants to know, and I know you're obviously concentrating on the heavy testing ground, but how are things at the moment in your mind for Sprinter Sacre on Saturday?
Well, the horse is great. We're all happy with the way things have gone. He had that gallop, and we jumped a few fences at Newbury a couple of weeks ago. That went well, and last week was good. I'm desperately keen to try and run him this weekend, I must admit, but the forecast at the moment is horrific, and we're starting to get a bit nervous about it. I mean, he is not the same horse in heavy ground or soft ground as he is on good ground.
And how are you feeling this week, Nicky? Because obviously a lot of attention is focused on the horse. And how do you feel as an individual training such top-class horses? You must be very nervous and apprehensive as well.
Yeah, I think, we'd like to get this out of the way, really. Yeah, I mean, we can only do what we've got to do and try and plot it correctly, really. Yeah, he is the sort of horse that gets you a bit jumpy, but I'd rather have the problem than not have the problem.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what options are open to you, Nicky, if, for example, this week doesn't happen? What option between...
Well, the unfortunate thing is really the only alternative race is the Game Spirit at Newbury. Now, I mean, we've got Newbury tomorrow, and that is going to be heavy. It'll be very, very hard work tomorrow. I mean, if he was running on that tomorrow, he wouldn't run. So you could say you'd wait for the Game Spirit, but then what are the chances of getting better ground? This weather, it's not going to be any better next week or the week after, and then the Game Spirit's at the beginning of February.
And from your point of view, would you go straight to Cheltenham if you?
No, he'd need a run.
Right.
I think he has to have a run. I mean, you can do, but he hasn't run since the issue at Kempton last year. And I think one's got to get... I mean, Newbury was our first step, which is to get him on a race course, get him enjoying himself, not put him under the stress of a race, but let that bring him on and let him enjoy it. There's no doubt that what happened to him last year would have been a fairly harrowing experience. And the thing has been getting his confidence back, so he believes that he can, stretch himself to the limits you'd have to in any sort of race. Where he knows that nothing is going to happen, because that, in our opinion, and even the veterinary world, it would have been something that could have left a scar. I'm happy it hasn't, but you've got to mind all these things, and therefore I think he's got to have a race to give himself the belief that everything is 100%, and with his work at home, I'm sure it is.
And when do you make that decision, Nicky? Do you leave it to the last possible moment, or do you sort of look at the ground?
Well, I'd love to leave it to the last possible moment. I'd like to leave it till Saturday morning. What we're going to do, Barry Garrett's coming over tomorrow to ride at Newbury anyway, so he's going to, when he lands at Heathrow, he's going to go straight to Ascot. He's going to go and have a look round. Barry walks the course before racing every day, or runs it actually. And so the last 3 Ascot meetings we've had this year, he'll have been round every morning before it. So he can gauge how it compares to the last meetings. I might, if I can, if I've got time, I'll go and meet him now. Otherwise, I should go on Thursday morning first thing.
Okay.
Because we have to declare on Thursday, which is a bore, because normally we declare 24 hours before a race. But for the grade ones, we have to do it 48 hours before. And doesn't give us the luxury of waiting to see what the weather's going to do on Thursday and Friday.
Okay. Well, on a more humorous side, it's a long time since either you or I run the course, that's for sure. One of the two of the guys here, I've got a couple of questions. Matt?
Yeah, hi, Nicky. Hi, it's Matt Mitter in the studio. We were talking last week, we made a little preview about the World Hurdle. I mentioned Whisper. Would you be tempted to aim him at the World Hurdle this year?
Well, I have put him in it this morning. It closed today. And I did put him in simply because he had a run over fences the other day and he got beaten. Yeah. That's probably not the problem, but he has come back with a bit of a problem, which is going to cause us to, he'll be another fortnight, I suspect, before he resumes work, and time's getting on. The fact that he didn't win at Exeter means that he could just stay a novice over fences, and we just use the backup of the rest of the season back over hurdles, and go chasing again next season with a clear run. So, yeah, I did put him in the stairs this morning.
Yeah, do you think it's important that the horse also has good ground? I know he got beaten, of course, behind Safa Daru in the Welsh Champion Hurdle, but I always see him as a good ground horse.
I do. I mean, he was... Yeah, the Welsh was in brutal ground. Then, to be fair, he had another hard race, but a great performance at Cheltenham. And again at Aintree, where it was, he was very, very good. He got 3 very hard races there in the spring, from the race at Foslas, Cheltenham, Aintree. He's a horse that hasn't just sparkled yet this year, and I'm sort of, as I say, I'd be quite happy to leave the chasing for another year, and just try and get him back over hurdles and see if we can, his work just hasn't quite come together yet, and so we have an issue with him at the moment anyway. So the chances are, you're right, that he could easily turn up in the World Hurdle.
Sam?
Yeah, hi Nicky. Got a few questions from our viewers at home.
Yeah.
A lot of them are tweeting me and talking about a horse called Out Sam. How exciting a prospect could that horse be this season for you, given the form behind Tifa 2?
Yeah, he's interesting because when I ran him at Newbury, he's not a horse that shows us a great deal at home. And to be fair, he worked this morning, and the plan is that he might easily go to Ascot on Saturday. I was pleasantly surprised by his performance at Newbury, and even more surprised to see that the race has worked out incredibly well. It makes him an exciting prospect, but he's not a very big horse, and he doesn't do anything very flashy at home, so he's a bit of a surprise package, really.
Excellent, that's what we like to hear. Going to ask you about one of our viewers has tweeted us in just to say about Rolling Aces. They've noticed that there's an entry for the Betfair.
Rolling Star, yeah.
Yeah, Rolling Star.
Yeah.
How is the horse?
Good. I'm pleased with the way he's coming along. We've had it again. He had a problem with a hind leg, a suspensory ligament of a hind leg, what has kept him out of action since last season. He is a horse that desperately has to have good ground. So I rather fear he's in work, and he looks fantastic, but he wouldn't get a run before the Betfair, and I cannot believe the ground. That's the same day as the Game Spirit that we were talking about for Sprinter Sacre. So, I'm saying that I can't see Newbury being good ground at the beginning of February, so I can't really see Rolling Star. But I think for the question, I'd say that he will be a horse to keep an eye out for in the spring.
Excellent. Thank you, Nicky.
Evening, Nicky. Just a quick question for you. Back to the World Hurdle. Beat that. I was quite impressed by his comeback until he sort of ran out of steam.
Like Whisper, is one. There are actually 2 horses, and you've hit them both this evening. Beat That and Whisper. They've both, for some reason, haven't quite just got into their groove yet this season. Neither of them throughout the autumn were just doing what they showed us last year. And I've had to sit on both of them until I finally had to get out there and go in, not in desperation, but just to got to have a run. And Beat That's run at Cheltenham, I wasn't expecting a great deal because, as I say, his work hasn't been to what he could do last year. And I was actually, the way he travelled through the race at Cheltenham was very impressive. And he jumped beautifully, and he was really on the bridle. The only thing, he didn't quite get up the hill. I can accept that in that it was his first run, but I wish he just finished it a bit stronger than he did.
OK, Nicky, I appreciate your time this evening and you give for your time. Just a couple more things. One, a very promising run by Trio de Lane in ground that didn't suit. And secondly, with Vaniteux, obviously Henderson for the Champion Hurdle. Are you unsure about the distance for that horse? Because obviously stepped it up. Where are we with Vaniteux as well?
Well, really, we're just biding our time before he goes chasing next year. We left him over hurdles because I didn't think he was ready for chasing. He'd only had a bumper and 4 hurdle races in his life. He was always going to have a tricky season. In fact, he's had 3 runs and finished second in all 3, and they were all top-class races. It does leave him short of where, yes, we had ideas that he might be a champion hurdle horse. But essentially, he's a chaser waiting to do that next year. I put him in the champion hurdle because I really can't see where else we can go. We upped him in trip. It didn't really help. I mean, he's been beaten by the new one and by Rock on Ruby, and it's very solid form. He's run very good races both times. I think he's in the champion because what else are we going to do?
Okay.
I think it's just marking time till next season, to be honest, and have a bit of fun at the back end and see if we can find a race that he can win, but it won't be easy.
And the Hennessy winner from last year, Trio de Lane, you must be happy with the run last time.
I was, actually, because that was in unreasonably soft ground for him. Normally I wouldn't do that. But he's always had problems with his breathing, and prior to there, if you ran him in soft ground, he wasn't able to breathe properly. And what was good about that is he didn't make any noises at Sandown, and I was very, very pleased with the run. And I think what we'll do now is literally try and aim him at the Grand National again, and hope they don't overwater him.
And we're getting a lot of people request here, because obviously you're on, and sorry, one more, which in relation to West Wizard and Joss's Hill, still okay for the Arkle?
Yeah, Joss's Hill got sort of mixed reviews for Doncaster the other day. We weren't too worried. Barry was happy. I was happy, to be honest with you, and I think we can tidy up his jumping. There's no doubt about that. And yeah, I mean, he's got to. That probably wasn't an Arkle winning performance as it stood. But I'm going to say, I think we've got plenty of room for improvement, and we'll be. I think. I mean, one's worried about somebody like Ernest, who goes a mighty rattle, and I should think he'll take a lot of pegging back round Cheltenham if he gets away from them. But that's what we're aiming at, and I do need to give him another run.
Okay. Nicky, thank you very much indeed for your time as always, and we really appreciate you ringing up because you're always very courteous and always give your time up. Thank you very much indeed.
Pleasure. Nice talking to you.
Good luck Saturday.